Welcome to a guided meditation from Matthew 18, 7 through 10. You can pause now to take this time to put your phone on Do Not Disturb mode. I invite you to close your eyes and breathe deeply. Allow your body to relax. Quiet your mind. Minimize all noise and external disruptions. And as you slow your breathing down, bring your awareness to the Spirit of Jesus who is within you. Try to picture him. Look into his eyes with love and see him looking into your eyes with love. As mental distractions come, acknowledge each thought. As you do, you might say, I trust you with this, Jesus. Pause now to acknowledge your distractions as they arise. You can write them in your journaling space if that's helpful for you. Rejoin when you're ready. And now, our verses. I'll be reading from Matthew 18, 7 through 10 from the NASB version. Woe to the world because of its stumbling blocks. For it's inevitable that stumbling blocks come, but woe to the person through whom the stumbling block comes. And if your hand or your foot is causing you to sin, cut it off and throw it away from you. It's better for you to enter life maimed or without a foot than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into the eternal fire. And if your eye is causing you to sin, tear it out and throw it away from you. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into the fiery hell. See that you do not look down on one of these little ones. For I say to you that their angels in heaven continually see the face of my Father who is in heaven. Today in our guided meditation, we're going to use a practice called TACS, which stands for teaching, adoration, confession, and supplication. You'll find this practice on your instruction sheet in the Meditate Thought box. If you need a copy of that instruction sheet, you can find it linked in the description below. We start with T, the teachings of TACS. When we're looking at teachings, we look for what this text might tell us about Jesus or God or the Spirit, meaning who they are and what they do. We can also look for what the text teaches us about humanity or ourselves, who we are or who we should be. Pause now and journal any teachings that you might see and rejoin when you're ready. Let's look into and unpack verses 8 and 9 that say, And if your hand or foot is causing you to sin, cut it off and throw it away from you. It is better for you to enter life maimed or without a foot than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into the eternal fire. And if your eye is causing you to sin, tear it out and throw it away from you. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into the fiery hell. We know from the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapters 5 through 7 that the origin of sin is not in our actions, but in our hearts, which express themselves in our actions. So removing our hands and feet and eyes won't really stop sin and evil because that's not where they originate. But I think that Jesus is showing us here, and also with the teaching from verse 6 in the previous section about drowning with a millstone being preferable to taking someone away from Christ, that our spiritual existence is literally infinitely more important than our physical circumstances. And he's calling us to believe that if somehow sacrificing our physical body or life could save our or someone else's spiritual life, it would be worth it. In fact, it would be a good deal. In your journaling, I'd encourage you to pause and write this teaching down because we're getting ready to dig into it with tacks. The teaching we're looking at is, my spiritual existence is infinitely more important than my physical circumstances. Rejoin after writing this down in your journal. If you're driving or unable to write, no problem. You'll be guided through each of the following steps. Now, as we continue through tacks, we turn our attention to the second movement, which is the A, adoration. What do you find to adore about Jesus, the Father, and the Holy Spirit in this section and teaching? My spiritual existence is infinitely more important than my physical circumstances. Pause now as you pray and journal your adorations, and rejoin when you're ready. God, I praise you that we do not have to be subject to our circumstances. That any moment, no matter how mundane or even difficult, can have heaven in it if we will let you in. What more could we want in life? All that we fear loses its hold over us as we allow and invite you into everything. And now we transition into confession. When I look at my life, it's clear that at my deepest levels, I don't completely believe this teaching. I think of the circumstances of my physical life, like my health, work, comfort, appearance, or possessions, and I often believe that my physical life is what should be protected, even obsessed over, and is a cause for anxiety. In the meantime, I look at my spiritual existence like knowing and loving Jesus, being connected with Him, and aware of and following Him in each moment. And I see that I often neglect that spiritual existence, even to the point of forgetting about it. I invite you now to reflect back on the last 24 hours as we move into confession. Perhaps you play the last 24 hours back as a movie in your mind, starting now and moving backwards through the last day. Where do you notice yourself protecting and showing great concern for your physical circumstances and neglecting your spiritual existence with Christ? As a side note, while you're doing this, you may also notice times when you were aware of and living into this connection with Jesus in your life and moments. You can make note of these times also. And perhaps as you note them, you also notice the effect that this awakeness to Him had on your life. So that as you're reviewing your day, you're not only confessing times when you were not alive with Him, you're also appreciating how those moments when you were shone. Now, you might be tempted to say something like, I wasn't with Him at all in my moments. But I would encourage you to get specific, noticing instance by instance how these moments without Him played out in your life. This is not in a spirit of beating yourself up or of shaming, but in being honest about our reality. He loves you completely, and nothing that you do or won't do will make you more worthy of that love. Pause now as you pray and journal and rejoin when you're ready. Jesus, I confess that I've pursued my physical life over my spiritual life with you. And in that, I only found and perpetuated fear and destruction. I know that you aren't surprised or unnerved by this. This is the very reason you came for me. And as I've been beaten up by my own choices and the choices of others, you scoop me up into your arms and take care of me. Instead of hiding my wounds from you, I open them to you and ask for your healing. And now we turn our attention to the final movement of tacks, the S, supplication, which means asking for things. Pause now as you invite the Spirit to guide you for what to ask for related to this section and teaching. and rejoin when you're ready. Jesus, I ask you to change me. From this day forward, I re-give my life to you. I know that like a child learning to walk, I will fall and fall and fall. But I intentionally grab your outstretched hand now, and I know that you're with me, teaching me, healing me, loving me. I praise you, Jesus. Thanks for joining this guided meditation. For more context on this section, check out Tim Mackey's teaching linked below.